Ever get the feeling that some languages just have a certain energy to them? Like it's not just the words, but something, I don't know, deeper?
I think I know what you mean.
Like you hear certain languages spoken and it's almost like magic. Well, get ready because today's deep dive is right up that alley. We're talking mystical languages, the ones rumored to do a bit more than just, order takeout.
And we're covering the whole spectrum today. We'll start with languages rooted in history, but that have gotten tangled up in mystical practices over time.
Right, because it's not like we're talking about made-up languages here, at least not all the time.
Exactly. And then we'll venture into the really out there stuff, languages so shrouded in myth and speculation, they might just break reality as we know it.
Okay, color me intrigued. But I gotta admit, when I first saw this topic and I saw Latin and Sanskrit, I was like, wait a minute, those are real languages. I mean, people actually speak those.
They are very much real, with long and complex histories.
But they're also tangled up in all these rituals and ancient texts, which kind of gives them that, otherworldly vibe.
It's amazing how a language's history and how it's used can give it that sense of, power, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Take Latin, for instance. Even today, it's still used in certain religious ceremonies.
Oh, yeah. And let's be honest, no horror movie exorcism scene would be complete without a little Latin, right?
Exactly. And there's just something about those Latin pronouncements, isn't there? It sends shivers down your spine.
Totally. It's like every word is echoing with, centuries of, belief and maybe a few good ghost stories thrown in.
Precisely. That historical weight, that connection to ancient practices, it all feeds into this idea of Latin as a language that holds a certain power. And then we have Sanskrit.
The language of ancient Indian scriptures. And those, what are called mantras.
Mantras.
Those are the ones where it's not even the words themselves, it's the sound, right? Like the sound is supposed to do something.
Exactly. The belief is that the vibrations you create when you chant specific Sanskrit mantras, they actually impact your consciousness.
Whoa, go.
It's about tapping into something primal, something beyond just everyday communication.
So it's not even about understanding what the words mean, really. It's more about the energy the sounds themselves are carrying.
You're getting it.
This is getting complex. See, this is why I need you here. So we've got Latin rooted in ritual and history, Sanskrit with its sound-based power. It's like languages can be tools for more than just talking.
And what's fascinating is that this idea pops up across cultures and throughout history, even in ancient Greece.
Ancient Greece. Those were the logic and reason people, right?
Exactly. Democracy, geometry, they made huge contributions to philosophy and science.
Right, all about logic.
But they weren't afraid to tackle the big mystical questions either. They used their language to explore the cosmos, the nature of reality, the divine concepts that we still grapple with today.
So even a language rooted in logic has this hidden depth, this potential to explore the unknown. It's like language itself is a doorway. And depending on how you use it, maybe you can glimpse something beyond the everyday.
Which makes you wonder, what is it about language that makes us want to believe it can do more than just convey information?
Good question. Well, we've got a lot more languages to unpack, and it sounds like we're about to dive even deeper into that very question. What comes next on our linguistic adventure?
Get ready, because we're shifting gears now.
Oh.
How so? Well, we started with languages that have a foot in both worlds, right? The real and the, let's say, more mystical side.
Right. Like Latin, totally a real language, but with that mystical history.
Exactly. But now we're heading into the realm where language and myth are so intertwined, it's almost impossible to pull them apart.
Ooh, okay. I am getting chills. Tell me more. What kind of linguistic mysteries are we unraveling next?
Let's talk about sacred texts, starting with Hebrew and Aramaic. These languages are more than just a way to convey religious ideas. They're believed to hold a deeper power.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I've always been fascinated by religious text. What makes Hebrew and Aramaic so special?
Well, in Kabbalistic traditions, each letter of the Hebrew alphabet, it's not just a sound, it's like a building block of creation.
Wow.
Each letter is a vibration resonating with divine energy. Imagine the act of writing or speaking these letters becomes a way to interact with the very fabric of existence.
That's intense. So it's like each letter is a key to unlocking a deeper layer of reality. What about Aramaic, though? Does it have those same mystical vibes?
Oh, absolutely. Aramaic is fascinating because it's believed to be the language Jesus spoke.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's been incorporated into different esoteric traditions, seen as a language that can bridge the gap between us, humans, and the divine.
So we've got languages that hold the secrets of creation, languages used to talk to higher powers. Makes you rethink the power of words, doesn't it?
It really does. And it gets even more intense as we move away from spoken language and toward symbolic systems.
Symbolic systems like what?
Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, for example.
Yeah.
Those beautifully intricate symbols, they weren't just for recording information.
Really? I always thought those were purely decorative, to make their tombs look nice.
They are beautiful, but to the ancient Egyptians, those hieroglyphs held immense power. They were a magical system, a way to invoke forces, to communicate with the gods.
So it wasn't just writing, it was like spellcasting.
In a way, yes. Imagine believing that simply by writing or carving these symbols, you could influence events, ensure your safe passage to the afterlife, even commune with the divine.
That's incredible. It's like magic, but with pictures. Are there any modern examples of that kind of magical writing?
There are some interesting parallels with the runes used by the Germanic and Nordic cultures.
Runes, like in Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. Each rune, it represents a concept, a force of nature, an element of existence.
Right, and they use them for magic and stuff. Divination, protection, attracting luck, even influencing events.
Yes, and that's what's fascinating about runes. They weren't meant to be straightforward like the languages we've discussed. They were tools, each one imbued with a unique energy, a power that could be accessed, directed by those who understood their secrets.
So, it's like we've gone from whispering about the supernatural with Latin and Sanskrit to straight up wielding its power with runes. This is getting intense. Where do we even go from here? Okay, so we've covered languages intertwined with ritual and belief, even dipped our toes into symbolic systems with, magical powers. But where do we even go from here? What happens when we go even further into languages that might be more legend than history?
This is where things get really interesting. We're leaving behind the tangible and stepping into the world of what-ifs. These are languages that, they might be more mythical than real, but they still show us something about ourselves.
Okay, I'm all about exploring the what-ifs. Hit me with it. What's the most mind-bending language on the list?
Let's talk about Atlantean.
Atlantean! Like Atlantis, the lost city.
The one and only. Atlantean is the language supposedly spoken by, the Atlanteans, obviously. This incredibly advanced civilization that's said to have vanished beneath the waves centuries ago.
Okay, so we're talking about a language that may not even exist from a civilization shrouded in myth. It's like linguistic archaeology on a whole other level.
Exactly. We don't have concrete evidence that Atlantis existed, but that doesn't stop us from wondering. The idea of an Atlantean language taps into our fascination with lost knowledge. It makes you wonder what secrets could be unlocked if we could just crack the code of this lost language.
It's like a linguistic holy grail, right? Searching for a language that could unlock forgotten wonders. Okay, Atlantean definitely sets the bar high for mind-bending. What else you got?
How about a language delivered by angels?
Angels. Okay, now you're just messing with me.
I'm serious. Enochian. This language is supposedly incredibly complex, totally unique grammar and sounds, totally different from anything we humans use to communicate.
A language of angels. That's wild. So what are people even trying to do with Enochian, talk to angels?
Some do. Enochian is often used in ceremonial magic. Practitioners believe that by using it in their rituals, they can tap into those celestial energies, communicate with higher beings, maybe even influence reality itself.
Okay, so we went from deciphering the whispers of a lost civilization to potentially speaking with angels. The human imagination is a powerful thing. But is there anything that grounds this back to the languages we use today?
There is. Proto-Indo-European. It's considered the ancestor of many modern languages. English, Spanish, Hindi, Russian. They all share a common ancestor in Proto-Indo-European.
It's like the ultimate linguistic family tree, tracing languages back to their roots. That's got to be fascinating for linguists. But is there a mystical angle to this one, too?
Some believe that studying the structure of this ancient language might help us understand how our ancestors saw the world, how they thought, how their language shaped their whole understanding of reality.
So it's not about magic or angels, but about how language itself can shape our reality. It's like those building blocks you were talking about, but on a much larger scale.
Precisely.
This whole deep dive has been amazing. We've traveled from the familiar to the utterly fantastical, and it really makes you think.
It shows you the power we give to language. It's more than just a tool for communication. It's a vehicle for belief, a way to connect with the unknown.
Well said. It's like we're trying to reach beyond ourselves, to find a deeper meaning. We've journeyed from Latin and its history to the mystery of Atlantean, the power of Hebrew, and even the angelic language of Enochian. And along the way, we've seen how languages can be magical, not just in what they say, but in what they represent.
And that's something for all of us to think about. What other secrets are hidden within the languages we use every day? What will we discover if we just keep asking questions and keep listening?
I like that. So to our listeners, keep questioning, keep exploring, and maybe, just maybe, you'll unlock a linguistic mystery of your own. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into mystical languages. We'll see you next time.